Okay, great. Hi everybody, Paul Hyun, residential real estate in Brooklyn. I'm with co-founders of the Prospect team. With Compass, we're based out of the Park Slope office, right in the corner from David and close to Jeff. Today, I am going to talk about how to generate and maximize, really this is important, how to maximize the results of a bidding war for your Brooklyn home. Any monkey can create a bidding war. It's how do you maximize the result? And also why it is in your best interest to do it. I do want to mention one thing. It is not always the case that creating a bidding war for your place is the way to get the best result, but in many, many, many cases it is. For those other reasons, you can talk to me. Okay, so let me start with why. First of all, there are a few reasons why. One of them is leverage. Another one is market forces. Another one is risk mitigation and also seller choice. Leverage, this is super important. My lawyers in the room here, I think you're going to appreciate the idea of leverage. When you create a bidding war, what you do is you shift the leverage to the seller. If you have only one buyer for your home, that buyer has all the leverage. Why should they pay full price if they have nobody else competing with them, right? There's this cliche in real estate. It only takes one buyer. That's true. It only takes one buyer to buy a place, but no, you do not just want to have one buyer. You want to have multiple buyers. If you only have one buyer, that buyer has all the negotiating leverage, and it's the threat of another buyer that's the seller's best negotiating leverage, because that creates a risk of loss for the other buyer. Competition is a seller's best friend, okay? So don't negotiate with one buyer. Let multiple buyers compete with each other for your place instead, all right? Why? What happens? Well, okay, here's the thing. With market forces, when demand, meaning the number of buyers, okay, for your home, exceeds the supply, meaning the availability of homes like yours, then an efficient market is going to bid the price of your home up to the maximum price that it could bear. Oftentimes, that's actually what pushes market values up in a neighborhood, okay? What's important for this is, one, marketing. You need to maximize the effect of your marketing. And two, create a process to minimize the friction to create an efficient market, okay? So to create an efficient market, like I said here, you must over-market your home and minimize the transactional friction. Also, why create a bidding war? It mitigates the risk for the seller, okay? Buyers don't just compete on price, they also compete on terms, contract terms, contingencies. And so what happens is as more buyers compete for a listing, eventually they're gonna hit like a value ceiling, right? Like, you got $1 million place, it's priced at $900, you're not gonna get people to bid $2 million for that home, right? So they're gonna hit some sort of ceiling. It'll probably be over $1 million, but there's some sort of ceiling. So what happens then is you wanna have multiple buyers at that ceiling because now they have to start also competing on terms. They have to say, you know what, I'll waive doing an inspection, or I will waive my contingencies so I can get the place. That's also in your seller's favor. It minimizes the risk in the deal for the seller of the deal falling apart and it costing them money. What happens in a bidding war is bids come in tranches, okay? So let's just say you've got 10 offers for a place. Not everyone is offering the maximum amount. The bids are gonna come in, there's gonna be a low tranche, like let's say there are like 5 people offering the asking price. And then another, like a mid-level tranche, that's gonna be like 2 or 3 buyers who are offering something between the asking price and the maximum price. And then you'll have 2 of these 10, you'll have another 2 or 3 who come in at the very top. They need to compete with each other, but also it's those lower tranches that like lift everything up, okay? And if we get more offers, then those tranches are also gonna be thicker, right? Like, I don't necessarily wanna have just one person at the very top. I want to have 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, because that's really going to push things in favor of my seller. The other thing is seller choice. Scott referred to earlier, right? Like there's people involved. And in my experience, in Brooklyn, many sellers, they don't just want to get the best result from their sale in terms of money. They also want to feel good about who they're selling to. Who's going to be the new owner of their home that they love so much, that they've owned for generations, right? Or who's going to be the new neighbor in their co-op to the people who have been their neighbors and who are their friends. So having multiple offers gives sellers some choice. They could choose to not take the highest possible offer and actually sell to the person who they feel some sort of connection to or who they feel good about selling to. Also, seller choice. You might be in an apartment in a building where financing for that apartment could be tricky. Well, something that's coming up that's relatively new is an issue of swarm issues. Melora could probably tell us about these. These are buildings. These are issues that have to do with building maintenance. And this is becoming a tricky thing for financing. If you have that sort of issue, you want to find a cash buyer. If you have only one cash buyer and they know that buyers who are financing can't get the place, they're going to be your only, you're just negotiating with them and they have all the leverage. So what you need to do is you want to get multiple buyers and hopefully get multiple cash buyers because now these cash buyers are competing with each other. You also want to avoid a situation where you've overpriced your co-op, right? And your co-op apartment, and the one buyer you have is a total prick, and they might get rejected by the board, or for whatever other reason, your deal could fall apart because you only had the one buyer to choose from. So again, seller choice is super important for a successful sale for a seller. Okay, so how do you get the maximum results from your bidding war? I've said this before, I'll say it again. 1, you need to maximize the market. 2, you need to minimize friction. How do you maximize the market? Okay, for one thing, very frankly, it's the price, okay? So I refer to it as slingshotting the price, okay? If you know me, you know that I do a lot of analysis. I'm very good at understanding what the probable market value for a place is. After we've done that, what we do is we come up with a strategic price that's below that we know is gonna pull that slingshot back, right? And let's just say, my suggestion is that we price something at like 5 or 10% under what the probable market value is. Pulling that slingshot back, the farther I pull it, the farther that price is actually eventually going to go. So here are some examples. $1.1 million co-op. Priced it at $1 million. Now I've got all these people who can only afford it at $1 million. They're all making offers in addition to people who can afford much more than that. Okay? So it's worth 1.1. Priced it at 1. Let go. It sold 3 offers, 1.2. Another example, $3.3 million condo. Price that at 3, you're going to get all the buyers who can go to 3 and all the ones who can go over, right? That lower tranche pushes everything up, sells for 3.5. Another example, $4.4 million brownstone. I actually did this. We priced it at 4, wound up with 15 offers. The highest one came way over the top. Rex knows the guy. He offered $5.6 million to get it. 40% over ask. My sellers were able to buy a compound in Maine for their daughter.
And a timeshare for you.
Many dinners for me, for sure. Okay. Also, to maximize your market, you need to maximize the marketing. Okay. Purchases are emotional. This has been mentioned already today. Purchases are emotional, and marketing. Okay, luxury marketing is storytelling that's going to stoke the emotions of buyers. And in particular, the emotions I'm going to try to tweak are their desires and also their fears. It's maybe twisted, but that's what we do. So it's important, first of all, to invest into the presentation. Okay, you want to make it look as beautiful as you possibly can. Sometimes a house needs a total gut renovation. You can still do things to improve the perceived level of condition and desirability of the home, because really this is about making it easy as possible for buyers to envision their best life in this home in the future, okay? You also want to know the hidden selling points of the home. So I talk to sellers, find out what's something that people wouldn't realize about this home that you love about it from living in it. okay? Because I want to invoke visions of someone's future moments in this home as the future homeowner. Really make it as easy as possible for them to picture themselves in this house. We also want to use strategic timing, okay? So the best time to create a bidding war is a time when there's a lot of buyers and also competition is low. A lot of people think the spring market is just always the best time to sell. Not necessarily. In Brooklyn, actually, some of the strongest months have been in January, where you've got a bunch of people who were looking the previous year, and then also a bunch of new year, new home buyers. So suddenly you got a much higher level of buyers who are out looking. You know, the buyers who were looking before, they don't know the difference between, you know, who's new and who's not, who's serious, who's not. And you don't have a lot of competition because everyone's thinking, I should list in spring, list in January. You're the only game in town. So you have a lot of supply, a lot of demand, very low supply. You also want to pick a launch date that is going to match with buyer habits, okay? There's no reason to waste days on the market. So I, in most cases, will list a place on a Thursday morning because most people spend the most time looking for places on Thursdays and Fridays before the weekend. Why list on Monday when no one's going to see your listing for like 3 days? We're also going to track all the inquiries, all the feedback, keep an eye on the listing performance metrics to make sure that we know like when is it the right time to call for final offers, make sure we're taking advantage of momentum but not leaving anything out there on the table. Lastly, and I'll make this quick because I'm out of time, we want to minimize friction. One of them, give access when buyers want to see it. Just get as many people in to see the place as you can. All right, and if an owner is living in the place, then we'll do what we can to accommodate that. Maybe I'll rent them an Airbnb for the weekend so they can be out of the house and we can just show it on demand as much as possible. We're also going to create useful videos. We're going to create videos so that out-of-town buyers can see this because they're not going to have a chance to come and make a bid. Create videos of community spaces in buildings so that people can see this after they've left the building. Anticipate common questions so that we are ready to answer questions. It doesn't take days. People are going to make a decision very quickly. I want to be ready to give people the answers that they need right away. And also, this is one last thing, something that I do. It's called open bidding, and what it does is it reduces the fear of a bidding war. Many people will not make an offer if they fear that there's going to be a bidding war because what a lot of agents do is they say, thank you for your offer, and then they go radio silent on you, and you have no idea what's going on with your bid. So what I do, is actually, if you make an offer, before I call for a highest and best bidding deadline, I will tell you how many offers I have and what the highest one is. This is going to empower the buyer to know where this bidding war is headed, and it reduces the fear and uncertainty of what the process is going to be like. Some people think that that's dangerous for sellers, but I have found that we actually get more offers as a result, and it actually drives the price way, way up. And an important part of all of this is clear communication with buyers and their agents about the process and what sort of expectations they should have. That's it for me. That's how I do it. Any questions? David.
Can you just go over again what swarm is, please?
Yeah, so swarm is, I don't know what it stands for. Maybe Melora could say. It has to do with buildings having deferred maintenance. And actually, I guess it's after the building collapse in Florida, Fannie and Freddie are paying much more attention to whether buildings have deferred maintenance that could be a potential safety hazard for a building in the future. And they're really hammering down and not lending into buildings that could have issues like mold or local law 11 problems or roof problems. Melora, I'm sure, can tell us much more about all of these things.
Call me. You'll be riveted. You'll be riveted. Call me. I have a question. So when you're selling your co-op or your home or your house in Brooklyn, and you must make it the nicest it can be, and you have to stage it and make it pretty, and the person, who pays for that?
So seller will pay for these things. But actually at Compass, we have a program called Compass Concierge, where Compass will loan a seller up to $25,000. There's actually no interest. You pay a $500 origination fee when you close, and that money just gets paid back at closing. And we advise people, and we actually help them through the process. We help get quotes. We will project manage in many cases. Done it very successfully. I did it in that sale where the $4 million house sold for 5.6. We also will advise on like when it's a good idea to do it, and also what's the most efficient, economical way to do something. So we want to take that $25,000 and turn it into like $500,000. I'm sorry, yeah, $500,000.